So James Silverman isn't in the room right now, is he? This is one of those awesome conferences where you show up and you think you're speaking in the evening, but you're speaking in the afternoon, apparently. But James Silverman was actually going to assist me in this, in passing these things out. But let's talk about what's going on here tonight. Are you guys actually having a pretty good time? Is it actually strangely enjoyable to meet with Christians from all around the country, to call for justice and mercy and bring the gospel into conflict with the evil of child sacrifice, and for some reason, there's like joy in it? It's because you were designed to do this. Like the Church of the Living God was designed to actually be a body with all the different parts working together for a common goal, and that common goal would be to build the kingdom of God in the name and the power of Jesus Christ, right? And some of you guys are like really loud street preacher folks. God bless you. I'm not one of you. And some of you are awesome, like personal evangelism folks, and some of you are, actually you're not in your comfort zone doing what we just did. But you adopt children and you practice assistance and you want to do what we just did. Some of you like to write. Some of you like to keyboard warrior. Some of you, like to preach and teach, and you're sort of introverted and all that kind of stuff. And we're just like all over the place, talented. Some of you are actually making it possible for your husbands or your wives to do different things because of the way that you're running your families and everything like that. And so I think what's so enjoyable about what we're doing is that it's the people of God sort of functioning as a body with different talents. We've got here at this conference, we've got sort of world-known like apologists and legal experts and attorneys and political people and preachers and guys like Rusty. We have this sort of amalgamation of all these people, and I think that it is fun and it's okay that we're having fun, because I think we're doing what we've been designed to do. Now, from a strategic point of view, we cannot do this sort of thing enough. And I know it costs a lot of money. Like some of you probably are like $1,000 in a hole just to do this, right? Well, I think that's well spent money. Some of you are missing football games to do this. I worked it out with the University of Oklahoma that the Sooners would be on a bye week, so I wouldn't have to sacrifice. I'm just kidding. As if I super care, but there's a certain amount of sacrifice, and I think when we look at the world and the church, and we want to be critical about all these things, sometimes the tendency is to say, look at these people aren't really sacrificing, we're sacrificing. We're actually not sacrificing as much as we could. We're not. We are seeking to lay down our lives in as much as we can to love our preborn neighbors as ourselves, to establish justice, and to bring souls to Christ, right? But we are never probably doing as much as we can. I know, as someone who does this is what I do, abolitionist stuff, that I'm not doing enough, that I could be doing more, that I could be looking for the things that I'm not so good at and try to do them a little bit better, right? I think we all know this, right? And I think as a community, one of the things that we see going on is that these different abolitionist groups all over the country and the continent, and if there is anyone watching online from New Zealand, abolitionist groups or whatever, I think we're trying to get the whole thing together. And I think there's a reason we're trying to do that. And that's because we are actually on the cusp of this actually mattering, actually affecting these things. This began very small. You always have y'all know a bell curve? Any nerds out there seen a bell curve? You always have these sort of like early innovators. Like the Protestant Reformation starts with a guy nailing some theses on a wall. It starts before that, but you get these early innovators, radicals, who do something to say, stuff's got to change. And they're rambunctious, and everybody's wrong and they're right, and it's just a big fight all the time. And, they sin in various ways, but they're right in various ways. And over time, people listen to them. And then it kind of grows, and then you have early adopters. New people want, what are you saying? I may not like the way you're saying that, or the symbol on your sleeve, but what are you saying? That is biblical. I do agree with that. I can be on board with that. And you sort of move into this growth. It's not just a few fringe radicals. It's a lot of people saying, yeah, let's do that. And as you grow and you become able to sort of move beyond just Facebook battles to legislative battles, we start to need to mobilize and work together. So the thing to get rid of my talk today, which I was going to talk to you guys about complex specified information in the DNA molecule and how it proves the existence of God. Just kidding. These are being passed out. Does everyone get one of these? Yes. All right. Hold it up if you got it. All right. So everyone who's holding one of these up is agreeing to be in Oklahoma February 7th to the 12th. I mean, you did that. God is everywhere. He's watching everything. He's going to hold you to that. Now, this is sort of, we're attempting to do this thing. February 7th through the 12th, it's kind of it's longer than this conference, but we're attempting to do this thing. It may be the first time that it's been done, to where we're trying to get all of the End Abortion Now folks, all of the Operation Save America folks, all of the missionaries to preborn, all of the abolitionist societies of this and that place folks, all together to be unified to support the total and immediate abolition of abortion in Oklahoma. Now, why Oklahoma? Well, in Oklahoma we do have a bill. It's a Bradley bill. It's an abolition bill. It meets all the stuff that we've been talking about. We do have a hardcore legislator, and by the time y'all get there in February, we'll probably have a House version and a Senate version, and hopefully, Lord willing, $200,000 to promote them. But what we need desperately is lots of bodies. What we talked about the last couple of days, when we're talking about putting pressure on these politicians, getting them to hear us, so they don't want to hear you if you're 6 people standing in the lobby holding dead baby images screaming at the top of your lungs, right? They can say, look, these are not my voting constituents, they don't reflect, I don't have to listen to them. If they're right or they're wrong, whatever, they're irrelevant. They're not normal, they're not the norm, I don't need to listen to them. But they start saying, what is it that you believe and why, and what are your arguments? And yes, I will meet with you when 1,000 people show up. When 5,000 people show up, it opens even more doors. Instead of going, Tony Lounger, Oklahomans for Life, National Right to Life, which bill do you think that I should put forward? They don't go to him. They go to us. And they start saying, who is it? What is the bill that we need to be putting forward? What are you guys doing? What do you believe? We need you in Oklahoma, not just to be bodies, but we need you to be lobbyists, we need you to be street activists, we need you to be evangelists, we need to be exactly who you've been at this conference in Oklahoma for an extended period of time. Now, the difference is that we don't have a sugar daddy like Don Martin. And he's shaking his head. He's like, don't say that. I don't know. Whoever it is that made this thing possible, which we should clap for them again, because this is a lot of work. You know, you've got a church building, you've got these different pastors and sponsors, and we've got all this food. I have no idea where this is all coming from, because I'm in the midst of planning something very similar, and I'm like, what's the budget on this, Josh? Josh is my boss. He's the director of the board for Free the States. And he's like, oh, it's $60,000. And it's like, $60,000. What do we want to get? We want to give everybody 3 T-shirts. We want to give everybody thousands of pamphlets and signs. And we want to buy lapel pins for the legislators who join us and fancy pens for them to write with. I'm just kidding, not the fancy pens. That hoity-toity stuff is just going to burn up, moth and rust, destroy it and everything, along with all of our abolitionist gear. But anyway, we are going to do everything we can to make every single Christian aware of not only the bill of total and immediate abolition of abortion in Oklahoma, but also the differences between that bill and the standard bill that they've been thinking their politicians have been putting forward to save lives, but haven't. We're going to get them educated on those differences. We're going to get them aware of the fact that it is, in Oklahoma, pro-life political leaders that are keeping abortion legal, that is the only thing keeping abortion legal, that and a lack of courage and ability to stand up and do what's just and right in the face of the Supreme Court. And one of the ways that we're going to do this is by flooding that area with lit and by spending a heck of a whole lot of money. For those of y'all who know me and have known me from before I was ruined by the Dan Fisher campaign. Oh, hey, Dan. When'd you get here? Can you leave for a second? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Before that, I was one of these people who thought, we don't need donors. We don't need to ask for money. We're just going to do this. Just give me some clay pots and torches and we'll have them all killing each other when they wake up, And as a Judge's reference, that wasn't something weird. That was a Gideon thing. But, I just was kind of like, listen, I do not ever want to fall prey to, making money off of dead babies. I see these pro-life lobbyists doing these things and seemingly doing them in order to make a decent living and talking about their 501ks, and I just didn't want to do that. Now what ended up happening is you start growing and getting into situations where you have the opportunity to tell everybody in your state there's a righteous senator who's got a righteous bill that you ought to know about it and you ought to support, and you can't reach them because you can't get on the TV, you can't get on the radio, you can't boost your Facebook, but you just don't have the money to do it. So we are going to try to raise that money. I'm not asking you to give me any money today, by the way. We're not going to do that. But you should give Don Martin some money, by the way. You should make some checks out to Paul Thompson's church to help fund this conference. But I am asking you to seriously, prayerfully consider making it a priority to continue to do what you're doing, not only if it's close in Idaho, but if it's meaning that you're going to have to take a week out of your life to go to the literal boringest state in the Union. We have Starbucks and McDonald's and a lot of flat land, and we're better at football than everybody. So let me just say, we need you in Oklahoma, and it's beyond the jokes and sort of this sort of thing. When you step back and look at this thing historically, we are coming up on the point where the paradigm shift really gets legs and has strength and begins to make a difference in the world. Oklahoma is, yes, it's where sort of an abolitionist impulse may have started. Different people probably disagree on that. We have done things there. There was the first sort of senator to repent, got a heartbeat bill, did an abolition bill. First time we had someone run for a major political office on an abolitionist platform, and the first time that we've really had, well, I think Texas did a better job than us, but we did a pretty good job of really getting Senate Bill 13 to be a big deal. There was a week there where we were on the news every night, and they are having to talk about there's these people that are calling abortion as murder, and they were not calling us lunatics or fringe radicals. They were saying people in Oklahoma want this to happen. So we want you to come, say you're from Oklahoma, bring 10 people each, say they're from Oklahoma. I'm just kidding. No, you can come from all over the country. But the last little thing I'll say before leaving this podium is this, that you think, well, I don't live in Oklahoma. I live in Mississippi, or I live in Idaho, or whatever, and I need to focus on abolishing abortion here. You do. You should, and you're probably not doing enough. But if I could submit to you, if you are living in one of these states that has an abolition bill, the best thing you can do to pass your abolition bill is to help us pass ours. And that's not just me being selfish. One state has to defy the federal beast. One state has to stand up and try the Supreme Court and see how big their army is. And we have to do it next year. Not a big Donald Trump fan. Don't put this on the internet and say that Free the States is working for the Donald Trump campaign, please. But next year, at the beginning of the year, in February, we want it to be so loud, so all-encompassing, the thing that everyone's talking about, that they say, President Trump, if Oklahoma were to abolish abortion, would you back them? And he's looking at a campaign for re-election, and he's going to think, I can't really say no. Or he can say, no, we just don't know what he'll say, as Jason pointed out. But he's going to be thinking quite seriously about these things, among other things. So pretend I make a better case for you being there, but just remember that you held it high and said you would be there. If you can't be there for financial reasons, well, cancel your Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime now. But if you really can't be there for financial reasons, please contact us at Free the States, and we will find a way to find someone else to help you. Now, you're emceeing, but can I introduce the next speaker? Can I introduce him and then you introduce him too? Double. Can I just say something nice about him? All right, I will introduce him. You don't know who this person is? Jason will tell you. There's a man in our room who basically destroyed his life for a good year, committed it to running for governor. Now, I helped on that campaign and tried to help him, and I don't know if I was a net help or sort of a, I don't know, net gain of it. But he has probably done more by deciding that he would call himself an abolitionist and call for the abolition of abortion as murder. Say, hey, this is murder, we should treat it as murder, on the biggest political stages in a state, running against the current governor and others, and probably costing Todd Lamb, who would have been our governor. There's a lot of people in Oklahoma who think, man, Dan Fisher really wrecked the last election, and they are right, and I love it for him, because I think Kevin said it's going to be easier to push. But seriously, brother, you basically saw this situation. Maybe you didn't think about it very much. You're just being obedient, but just went out there and in and day out gave himself to the campaign to be governor. But I don't know if he ever thought he was going to win. I mean, I certainly, well, I guess there was a couple of weeks there where I thought, man, this might be possible. But I always knew that no matter what happened as a result of his candidacy, his campaign, lots of Christians were being emboldened and being instructed and educated in ideas having to do with abolition and state sovereignty and proper government that they had never been hearing from the political stage. And it wasn't popular enough to get him to become governor, but it converted a lot of folks. And one of the reasons whenever you and your 10 friends show up in February 7th like you're planning to do, and there are thousands of other people there that you show up and see, is because of the work of Dan Fisher.